All right, let's just get it out of the way. Last week, our predictive AI model was a disaster. I mean, it didn't just get a few wrong, it failed spectacularly. So, the team went back to the drawing board, tore it apart, and rebuilt it. This week isn't just another set of picks. Oh no, this is a story of redemption.
So after that complete meltdown in Week 9, the model had to learn from its mistakes, right? Its entire core logic got a massive update to fix some really glaring flaws. So the big question is, did it actually work? Or is it just kind of overcorrecting for everything that went wrong last week? Let's find out.
Okay, so the model now runs on 3 brand new, crucial principles. First, it finally gets that the backup QB fallacy is a real thing. Not all backups are created equal, you know? It now puts them in tiers, from guys who can actually play to, guys who can't. Second, it's all about trusting the real numbers, the deep metrics like EPA and DVOA. That's the true signal of how good a team is, not just some lucky turnovers. And number 3, and this is a big one, it's finally been programmed to respect those really unique outlier schemes that can just completely wreck a game plan.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with Thursday night, dive headfirst into that huge Sunday slate, check out the primetime games, and then we'll wrap it all up with what this new and hopefully much improved model has learned.
Okay, first up, our first big test case, Thursday night football. I mean, you look at this on paper, right? 7-2 Broncos versus the struggling Raiders. Should be a blowout. But the new model is already showing its hand. It's being a lot more cautious. You know the old model? It would have just slammed the button for a high-confidence Denver win, no question. But this new version, it's screaming trap game. It sees that flashy 7-2 record and realizes, wait a minute, that's been built on a bunch of crazy, last-minute comebacks. That's not something you can count on week after week. But here's the twist. Even with that big trap game warning flashing, the model still picks Denver. And this is a perfect example of the new logic in action. It's not looking at the flashy record anymore. It's looking for the most reliable, most stable unit on the entire field. And in this game, that is Denver's defense, a top 5 unit in the league. I mean, they held the Texans to 0 touchdowns last week. So it's that rock-solid D playing at home that gives them the edge. Still, notice the confidence. Only medium.
All right. Now for the main course, the early Sunday slate. We've got a gauntlet of 8 games here. This is where we're really going to see if those new lessons the model learned actually stick. Let's see how it handles this.
And boom, right out of the gate, we get our first huge upset alert. The model is basically calling the 7-2 Colts a paper tiger. It's saying that number 1 offense, that crazy turnover margin, that's all just statistical noise. And it got exposed last week when they turned the ball over 6 times. The real signal, the thing you can trust, is Atlanta's defense, which is ranked number 2 in the league. So it's trusting that elite D over the Colts' inflated, flashy record. So now we see how the model's corrections are leading to some really high-confidence picks. It looks at the Panthers and sees a powerful run game that's just going to steamroll the Saints franchise that it calls collapsing, especially since they're starting a quarterback from the absolute bottom tier. And with the Bears, the model isn't getting fooled by turnover luck anymore. It's seeing the reality here. This is a top 10 offense that just put up almost 600 yards. And they're playing a Giants team that they can't function without their star players.
Okay, here are 2 more great examples of the model actively fixing its old mistakes. The Jaguars pick is a textbook case of that backup QB fallacy lesson, but notice, it's conditional. This pick only counts if CJ Stroud is out for the Texans. Why? Because his replacement, Davis Mills, is a Tier 5 guy who couldn't even lead them to a single touchdown last week. And then with the Bills, the model finally sees their true identity. They are a dominant, physical rushing team, and that is a nightmare matchup for a Dolphins team that the model describes as being an organizational freefall. Ouch.
All right, this next one, this might be the most fascinating prediction of the entire week. It's the ultimate test of this whole recalibration. It's putting a legit elite team up against a factor that the model completely, fatally ignored just last week.
So what are we talking about? The model has actually given it a name, the Brian Flores effect. This is all about that insane high blitz defense the Minnesota Vikings are running. You know, the one that just completely dismantled the Lions' elite offense last week. The old model was blind to it. It couldn't see it. And that was its single biggest failure of Week 9.
So what's the result? It's picking an upset. It's taking the Vikings over the Ravens. See, the new logic now treats this scheme factor as a major variable, not some afterthought. It sees the Vikings' crazy, disruptive defense playing at home as the perfect weapon to neutralize a mobile QB like Lamar Jackson. Now, it's a low-confidence pick, for sure, but it's a huge statement. It's the model saying, I'm not going to ignore game-breaking schemes ever again.
Okay, moving on to the late afternoon slate. And this block of games is all about correcting some of the model's biggest sins from the past and really figuring out who the truly elite teams are.
This one is basically a formal apology from the AI itself. The report literally calls fading the Seahawks its cardinal sin of Week 9. It got so obsessed with their bad turnover luck that it completely missed the real story. The Seahawks are a legitimately elite team. I mean, they're now ranked #1 in the whole league in DVOA. It finally recognizes that their offense is a juggernaut that should just roll over the Cardinals at home.
The other late games really show the model applying its new logic to different levels of competition. You've got a heavyweight fight between the Rams and the Niners, and it's siding with the Rams because of their better underlying numbers and that elite defense. And then you've got the Lions. For them, this is a perfect get-right game. They're facing a Commanders team that's just in a total freefall. Starting a backup QB who has no #1 receiver to throw to, it's a complete mismatch.
All right, time for the primetime lights. And what's so wild here is that the recalibrated model is calling for an upset in both of these games, Sunday night and Monday night. This is where things get really interesting.
Now, for Sunday night, this pick isn't about correcting a mistake. This is about validation. See, the model was dead on about these teams last week. It saw the Steelers' defense for what it is, an elite, opportunistic unit that forced 6 turnovers. And it believes that physical, in-your-face style is the perfect antidote for the Chargers' offense, which is super high-powered, yeah, but also really vulnerable. So the model is just doubling down on what worked.
And then on Monday night, we get another huge course correction. That high-confidence pick on the Packers last week, it was a complete and total failure. The internal audit showed that Green Bay's offense was just wildly inefficient. So the model has massively downgraded them. And on the other side, you've got the Eagles. Coming off a bye, getting healthy, getting rested, the model now heavily favors the more physical, more proven Eagles team here, even playing on the road in Lambeau.
Okay, so we've walked through every single game. What's the big takeaway? Let's zoom out a little and look at what this new recalibrated model is actually telling us.
So this table pretty much lays out the entire week at a glance. And what's cool is you can see how every single pick is now directly tied back to one of those new lessons we talked about. Whether it's ignoring turnover luck or properly tiering quarterbacks or respecting a weird scheme, there's a clear, traceable logic behind every single pick. And that is a massive change from the old way of doing things.
And all that new logic, it leads us to this one single number, 4. That's how many upsets the model is calling for this week. The Falcons, the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Eagles, all to win outright. And that's a direct result of it finally trusting the real metrics and the scheme factors over just a simple win-loss record. It's become way more bold and, well, hopefully a lot smarter.
Which, of course, leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Did this AI really learn how to see the game of football with more clarity? Or is it just overcorrecting, just trying to make up for its huge, spectacular failures from last week? I guess we'll all find out come Sunday.